Now in Iraq, radical Islamist militants linked to Al-Qaeda are reportedly planning to take Baghdad after successfully advancing in the north. The so-called Islamic State in Iraq and Syria group has already captured the entire province of Nineveh, which you can see here, including its regional capital. The extremists then moved south and captured the cities of Baiji and Tikrit, and their advance was halted just 100 kilometers from Baghdad. It's thought the government's now asked the US to carry out drone strikes against the insurgents. But Marina Portnair explains now how that might mean Washington engaging against its own military hardware.
But we're leaving behind a sovereign, stable, and self-reliant Iraq.
2.5 years later, the people America left behind are running away, fleeing for their lives.
Around 500,000 people have already escaped from Iraq's second city, Mosul, after the ISIL forced the army to retreat.
Reports say gunmen have also seized a nearby oil refinery town.
Iraq's Prime Minister calling for a state of emergency after hundreds of gunmen took control of strategic parts of the northern city of Mosul.
By Wednesday, militants had seized the Turkish consulate in Mosul, kidnapping the head of diplomatic mission and 24 staff members. Some 30,000 Iraqi soldiers reportedly turned and ran as militants from the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, known as ISIS, moved in, unleashing an all-out assault on the city.
They've taken control of hospitals, police stations. They have taken control of ammunition dumps and weapons stores that the fleeing government forces have left behind.
Many of the abandoned weapons and military hardware now in the hands of hardline terrorists were imported into Iraq from, guess where?
I think you all are aware of the shipments that we've provided that include the delivery of 300 Hellfire missiles, millions of rounds of small arms fire, thousands of rounds of tank ammunition, helicopter-fired rockets to the Iraqi security forces.
And don't forget about the U.S.-supplied Humvees. Here you can see ISIS insurgents riding and inspecting the vehicles, driving them across the border into war-torn Syria. Critics call it an unintended consequence of the U.S. war in Iraq coming home to roost.
Our service that we devote to Bible prophecy. If you're visiting with us here today, we have the expositional teaching at the beginning, and then so very complex. I mean, just to give you an idea, ISIS came by way of Syria. The rebels that we supposedly have been supporting in the yet future and potential overthrow of one Bashar al-Assad. And so these rebels are now spilling over. In fact, that's what ISIS, the acronym, is. It's either Al-Sham or it's Syria. In other words, the Islamic Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. These are Syrian rebels that are now in Iraq. I turned on the news and there it was again, the same ticker. ISIS 1 hour from Baghdad. I'm like, wait a minute. That was a day ago. There's still an hour? What's going on? And then just this morning, I got up at 3:30 this morning, as often I do on Sunday mornings, to prepare for my teaching, and turned on the news. There was again the same ticker, 1 hour away from Baghdad. And it's Sunday, and I'm thinking to myself, what in the world, what is an hour away from Baghdad? They should have arrived, I mean, their ETA should have been on Friday, an hour from when they reported that they were an hour away from Baghdad, right? So why aren't they in Baghdad yet? And it's Sunday. And what, pray tell, is 1 hour away from Baghdad? Oh, you know, Babylon. Babylon. I believe they are, as we speak, in, of all places, Babylon. It's about an hour away from the capital of Iraq, Baghdad. And nothing has happened. It would seem that maybe they're setting up there, it would certainly stand to reason that they are in control of Babylon. Call me silly, but this begs the question of what's so significant about Babylon? Well, for any of you who have been attending here for any length of period of time, you know that I am one of the remaining few, maybe only two, Joel Rosenberg. I'm in good company with Joel Rosenberg, who still hold to the belief that the Babylon during the 7-year tribulation is literal Babylon, ancient Babylon in Iraq. First, whenever you hear the name of the Iraqi city Mosul, you have to understand that this is the area of ancient Assyria. This is known as Nineveh. Yes, Nineveh. Jonah. Ask Jonah about Nineveh. He can tell you all about it. Oh, well, what a coincidence, how convenient. He actually wrote a book. It tells you all about what happened there. This is ancient Nineveh. By the way, you go back into Genesis, the very beginning. This is the area known as the Plains of Shinar. This is the area also known as the location of the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel. And one Nimrod. You can read all about him in Genesis chapter 9, I think. I told you I have a bad memory, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's Genesis 9. So you have to understand that the area we know today as modern-day Iraq has such profound significance in terms of Bible history as well as Bible prophecy. Here's a second fast fact. The aforementioned city of modern-day Babylon is still modern-day called Babylon, but it's the same location, the same city as the ancient Babylon in Scripture, which, as you may or may not know, was and is being rebuilt. One Saddam Hussein, prior to his execution, was rebuilding Babylon fervently. He fancied himself, by the way, as the reincarnation of King Nebuchadnezzar. They were an hour away from Baghdad, but they're setting up a headquarters in Babylon. wait, did they say Babylon? If you were to interview and survey the average person on the street and ask them if they knew that there is a literal city of Babylon that is about an hour away from the capital of Iraq, Baghdad, they would think you were high, living in Colorado or Washington, I don't know, but they would think you were on something, right?